Before we jump right into talking about specific functions and commands in SOLIDWORKS, I'd like to talk about this design that we'll be working with throughout the course. I want to quickly walk through each of the features that we'll be creating, so you have an idea of the roadmap of where we'll be going, and you can see how the design will come together from beginning to end. Any design you create in SOLIDWORKS is really just a combination of separate features. If we look over at the Feature Manager tree here, I can use this rollback bar to scroll back through the history of the part so that we can see how it was created. This part here was started with just a simple rectangular extruded boss. This extruded boss is a sketch-based feature, which means that the 3D geometry was created from the 2D sketch. Next, this tab shape was created. You can see that this is another boss extrude feature, and this feature was based off of another 2D sketch. Moving along, a cut feature was created on the tab part. This is a cut extrude, a feature that simply removes geometry, and we can see that it was based off of this 2D circular sketch. Next, a mirror feature was created, which replicated both the tab extrusion and the circular cut feature to create an exact copy of the same geometry. Next, 4 clearance holes were created for an M10 screw using the Hole Wizard feature, which we'll talk about later. And finally, 2 fillet features were added. The first fillet feature was just rounding off these corners here, and then a slightly smaller fillet was used to break all the rest of the edges. Now you may have noticed that most of the features in the tree were based off of 2D sketches, such as the rectangle for the base, the tab shape, and the circular cut shape. These are examples of sketch-based features, or as the name implies, features that are initially created from a 2D sketch. The other types of features that you'll be working with are called applied features, where you're really just modifying the existing 3D geometry, as was the case with these fillets. Now, I had mentioned earlier that every part in SOLIDWORKS is created using a combination of features. This means that for any design you create in SOLIDWORKS, there are many possible approaches that you can use to achieve the same geometry. To illustrate this point, let me switch to another part that I currently have open in SOLIDWORKS. Here, I'm holding down the Control key on my keyboard while tapping the Tab key to switch to this other part I have open. Now, this part seems to look very similar to the part that we had open just a second ago. In fact, the part itself is identical in shape, but a slightly different approach was used to create the combination of features. Let's use the rollback bar in the feature tree to walk through how this part was designed. If we take a look at the very first feature, we see that again a rectangular boss extrude was used. But if I expand it and look at the sketch, notice that it was created in a different orientation. So right away, you can see how 2 varying approaches led to the same geometry. Moving on, the tab shape was again created. However, this time, the shape was extruded to the width of the overall part. If I expand this, you can see that the same sketch shape was used, and it was really just the feature itself that was created with a slightly different design intent in mind. Next, an extruded cut was used on a circular sketch, just like we saw before, but this time the hole was cut through the entire width of the part. And next, a second cut extrude feature was used to create the 2 tab shapes. If I expand this feature on the tree, you can see that just a rectangular sketch was used to make the cut. Next, the Hole Wizard holes were created, along with the 2 fillet features that we saw before. So this is a simple example of how the very same design can be created using a different combination of features, and it's really up to you to use the features that you feel most comfortable with. As you become more experienced using SOLIDWORKS, you'll find that the design intent will start coming more and more naturally.